fact, it might bring out its results in algebraical notation, where provisions made accordingly. Imagination is the discovering faculty, preeminently. It is that which feels and discovers what is, the real which we see not, which exists not for our senses. Mathematical science shows what is. It is the language of unseen relations between things. Imagination too shows what is. Hence she is or should be especially cultivated by the truly scientific, those who wish to enter into the worlds around us. The analytical engine might act upon other things besides number, were objects found whose mutual fundamental relations could be expressed by those of the abstract science of operations, and which should be also susceptible of adaptations to the action of the operating notation and mechanism of the ingenia euro, supposing, for instance, that the fundamental relations of pitched sounds in the science of harmony and of musical composition were susceptible of such expression and adaptations, the engine might compose elaborate and scientific pieces of music of any degree of complexity or extent. A new, a vast, and a powerful language is developed for the future use of analysis, in which to wield its truths so that these may become of more speedy and accurate practical application for the purposes of mankind than the means hitherto in our possession have rendered possible. As soon as I have got flying to perfection, I have got a scheme about a steam engine. I am more than ever now the bride of science. Religion to me is science, and science is religion. I am much pleased to find how very well I stand work and how my powers of attention and continued effort increase. I can throw rays from every quarter of the universe into one vast focus. My course is so clear and obvious that it is delightful to think how straight it is. I don't wish to be without my brains, though they doubtless interfere with a blind faith, which would be very comfortable. Imagination is the discovering faculty, preeminently. It is that which penetrates into the unseen worlds around us, the worlds of science. Mathematical science shows what is. It is the language of unseen relations between things. But to use and apply that language, we must be able to fully to appreciate, to feel, to seize the unseen, the unconscious. One essential object is to choose that arrangement which shall tend to reduce to a minimum the time necessary for completing the calculation. The analytical engine has no pretensions whatever to originate anything. It can do whatever we know how to order it to perform. The intellectual, the moral, the religious seem to me all naturally bound up and interlinked together in one great and harmonious whole. The more I study, the more insatiable do I feel my genius for it to be. The science of operations, as derived from mathematics more especially, is a science of itself, and has its own abstract truth and value. Understand well as I may, my comprehension can only be an infinitesimal fraction of all I want to understand. Your best and wisest refuge from all troubles is in your science. Religion to me is science, and science is religion. That brain of mine is something more than merely mortal, as time will show. Your best and wisest refuge from all troubles is in your science. A new, a vast, and a powerful language is developed for the future use of analysis, in which to wield its truths so that these may become of more speedy and accurate practical application for the purposes of mankind than the means hitherto in our possession have rendered possible. Am I too imaginative for you? I think not. As soon as I have got flying to perfection, I have got a scheme about a steam engine. Forget this world and all its troubles, and if possible, I am in a charming state of confusion. I am much pleased to find how very well I stand work and how my powers of attention and continued effort increase. I am never so happy as when I am really engaged in good earnest, and it makes me most wonderfully cheerful and merry at other times, which is curious and very satisfactory. I am quite thunderstruck at the power of the writing. It is especially unlike a woman's style surely, but neither can I compare it with any man's exactly. I am working very hard, like the devil in fact, which perhaps I am. I think you will be pleased. I believe myself to possess a most singular combination of qualities, exactly fitted to make me preeminently a discoverer of the hidden realities of nature. I can only end by repeating what I have often said before, that I am very troublesome, and only wish I could do you any such service as you are doing me. I do not believe that my father was, or ever could have been, such a poet as I shall be an analyst and metaphysician, for with me the two go together indissolubly. I don't wish to be without my brains, though they doubtless interfere with a blind faith, which would be very comfortable. I expect to gain a good deal of new light, and to get a good lift, in studying, though probably I shall be a long time about this. I could wish I went on quicker. That is, I wish a human head, or my head at all events, could take in a great deal more and a great deal more rapidly than is the case. And if I had made my own head, I would have proportioned its wishes and ambition a little more to its capacity. I find that nothing but very close and intense application to subjects of a scientific nature now seems at all to keep my imagination from running wild, or to stop up the void which seems to be left in my mind from a want of excitement. I have a peculiar way of learning, and I think it must be a peculiar man to teach me successfully. I have got a scheme to make a thing in the form of a horse with a steam engine in the inside so contrived as to move an immense pair of wings, fixed on the outside of the horse, in such a manner as to carry it up into the air while a person sits on its back. I have my hopes, and very distinct ones, too, of one day getting cerebral phenomena such that I can put them into mathematical equations, in short, a law or laws for the mutual actions of the molecules of the brain, equivalent to the law of gravitation for the planetary and sidereal world. I may remark that the curious transformations many formulae can undergo, the unsuspected and to a beginner apparently impossible identity of forms exceedingly dissimilar at first sight, is I think one of the chief difficulties in the early part of mathematical studies. I am often reminded of certain sprites and fairies one reads of, who are at one's elbows in one shape now, and the next minute in a form most dissimilar.
Which quotation do you like the most? Don't forget to subscribe.
A scout smiles and whistles under all circumstances. See things from the boy's point of view. Trust should be the basis for all our moral training. When you want a thing done, don't do it yourself is a good motto for scoutmasters. The spirit is there in every boy, it has to be discovered and brought to light. Correcting bad habits cannot be done by forbidding or punishment. If you make listening and observation your occupation, you will gain much more than you can be taught. A boy carries out suggestions more wholeheartedly when he understands their aim. The more responsibility the scoutmaster gives his patrol leaders, the more they will respond. The scoutmaster teaches boys to play the game by doing so himself. A scout is never taken by surprise, he knows exactly what to do when anything unexpected happens. The most worthwhile thing is to try to put happiness into the lives of others. A scout is never taken by surprise, he knows exactly what to do when anything unexpected happens. Happiness is open to all, since, when you boil it down, it merely consists of contentment with what you have got and doing what you can for other people. Success in training the boy depends largely on the scoutmaster's own personal example. The uniform makes for brotherhood, since when universally adopted it covers up all differences of class and country. This world that we're a livin' in is mighty hard to beat, of course there's thorns in every rose, but ain't the roses sweet. Be prepared. The meaning of the motto is that a scout must prepare himself by previous thinking out and practicing how to act on any accident or emergency so that he is never taken by surprise. A scout/guide should save animals as far as possible from pain, and should not kill any animal unnecessarily, not even the smallest of God's creatures. A boy is naturally full of humor. The most worthwhile thing is to try to put happiness into the lives of others. Your natural inclination is to preach and to warn other travelers of snags in the path, but isn't it better to signal to them some of the joys by the way which they might otherwise miss? Scouting is a school of citizenship through woodcraft. Nature study is the key activity in scouting and guiding. In scouting, a boy is encouraged to educate himself instead of being instructed. An individual's step in character training is to put responsibility on the individual. The open air is the real objective of scouting and the key to its success. We never fail when we try to do our duty, we always fail when we neglect to do it. A thing that many young fellows don't seem to realize at first is that success depends on oneself and not on a kindly fate, nor on the interest of powerful friends. Be prepared. The meaning of the motto is that a scout must prepare himself by previous thinking out and practicing how to act on any accident or emergency so that he is never taken by surprise. Almost any biography will have its useful suggestions for making life a success, but none better or more unfailing than the biography of Christ. Loyalty is a feature in a boy's character that inspires boundless hope. Yet one more item is needed to complete success, and that is the rendering of service to others in the community. Without this, the mere satisfaction of selfish desire does not reach the top notch. For these difficulties, I have found that a smile and a stick will carry you through all right. And in 99 cases out of 100 it is the smile that does the trick. Varied are the ideas of what constitutes success, money, position, power, achievement, honors, and the like. But these are not open to every man, nor do they bring what is real success, namely, happiness. No one can pass through life, any more than he can pass through a bit of country, without leaving tracks behind, and those tracks may often be helpful to those coming after him in finding their way. After forming a cadet corps of boys for assisting as non-combatants during a military campaign in 1900, we then made the discovery that boys, when trusted and relied on, were just as capable and reliable as men. I have over and over again explained that the purpose of the Boy Scout and Girl Guide movement is to build men and women as citizens, endowed with the 3 H's, namely, health, happiness, and helpfulness. The man or woman who succeeds in developing these 3 attributes has secured the main steps to success this life. The great thing that strikes you on looking back is how quickly you have come, how very brief is the span of life on this earth. The warning that one would give, therefore, is that it is well not to fritter it away on things that don't count in the end, nor on the other hand is it good to take life too seriously as some seem to do. Make it a happy life while you have it. That is where success is possible to every man. An animal has been made by God just as you have been. He is therefore a fellow creature. He has not the power of speaking our language, but can feel pleasure or pain just as we can, and he can feel grateful to anyone who is kind to him. A scout is always helpful to people who are crippled or blind or deaf and dumb, so he is good also to these dumb fellow creatures of ours. Show me a poorly uniformed troop and I'll show you a poorly uniformed leader. Mind you, I have had in my sojourn on earth as good a time of it as any man, so I can speak with some knowledge. A writer in the Manchester Guardian, who is unknown to me, lately described me as the richest man in the world. That sounds a pretty big order, but when I come to think it out, I believe he is not far wrong. A rich man is not necessarily a man with a whole pot of money, but a man who is really happy. And I am that. I have known lots of millionaires who were not happy men. They had not got all they wanted and therefore had failed to find success in life. A Sinhalese proverb says, "He who is happy is rich," but it does not follow that he who is rich is happy. The really rich man is the man who has fewest wants. As a scout, you are the guardian of the woods. A scout never damages a tree by hacking it with his knife or axe. It does not take long to fell a tree, but it takes many years to grow one, so a scout cuts down a tree for a good reason only, not just for the sake of using his axe. For every tree felled, two should be planted. Edged tools are dangerous things to handle, and not infrequently do much hurt. It has been well said that tea is suggestive of 1,000 wants, from which spring the decencies and luxuries of civilization. I had flops, I had success. We cannot really love anyone with whom we never laugh. As a scout, you are the guardian of the woods. A scout never damages a tree by hacking it with his knife or axe. It does not take long to fell a tree, but it takes many years to grow one, so a scout cuts down a tree for a good reason only, not just for the sake of using his axe. For every tree felled, two should be planted. It has been wisely said that we cannot really love anybody at whom we never laugh. My paintings are not about what is seen. They are about what is known forever in the mind.
Which quotation do you like the most? Don't forget to subscribe. Two things are infinite, the universe and human stupidity, and I'm not sure about the universe. There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. I am enough of an artist to draw freely upon my imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales. Logic will get you from A to Z, imagination will get you everywhere. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. I speak to everyone in the same way, whether he is the garbage man or the president of the university. Never memorize something that you can look up. When you are courting a nice girl, an hour seems like a second. When you sit on a red-hot cinder, a second seems like an hour. That's relativity. A clever person solves a problem. A wise person avoids it. Science without religion is lame, religion without science is blind. Any fool can know. The point is to understand. Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. If we knew what it was we were doing, it would not be called research, would it? I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious. Try not to become a man of success. Rather become a man of value. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. One cannot help but be in awe when he contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery each day. The world as we have created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. Once you can accept the universe as matter expanding into nothing that is something, wearing stripes with plaid comes easy. Once you can accept the most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of true art and true science. If I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician. I often think in music. I live my daydreams in music. I see my life in terms of music. I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. You never fail until you stop trying. Great spirits have always encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds. The measure of intelligence is the ability to change. Gravitation is not responsible for people falling in love. It is not that I'm so smart. But I stay with the questions much longer. Creativity is intelligence having fun. The world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it. If A is a success in life, then A equals X plus Y plus Z. Work is X, Y is play, and Z is keeping your mouth shut. Black holes are where God divided by zero. Everything must be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. The best way to cheer yourself is to cheer somebody else out. Whoever is careless with the truth in small matters cannot be trusted with important matters. When you trip over love, it is easy to get up. But when you fall in love, it is impossible to stand again. What is right is not always popular, and what is popular is not always right. Peace cannot be kept by force, it can only be achieved by understanding. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. A question that sometimes drives me hazy. Am I or are the others crazy? Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. The pursuit of truth and beauty is a sphere of activity in which we are permitted to remain children all our lives. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. We dance for laughter, we dance for tears, we dance for madness, we dance for fears, we dance for hopes, we dance for screams. We are the dancers, we create the dreams. The woman who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd. The woman who walks alone is likely to find herself in places no one has ever been before. Time is an illusion. It would be possible to describe everything scientifically, but it would make no sense. It would be without meaning, as if you described a Beethoven symphony as a variation of wave pressure. I must be willing to give up what I am in order to become what I will be. Love is a better master than duty. Blind belief in authority is the greatest enemy of truth. I never made one of my discoveries through the process of rational thinking. We all know that light travels faster than sound. That's why certain people appear bright until you hear them speak. Once we accept our limits, we go beyond them. Genius is 1% talent and 99% hard work. Nothing happens until something moves. I'd rather be an optimist and a fool than a pessimist and right. Out of clutter, find simplicity. If you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or things. Our task must be to free ourselves, by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty. Wisdom is not a product of schooling but of the lifelong attempt to acquire. Only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. Few are those who see with their own eyes and feel with their own hearts. Imagination is the highest form of research. However rare true love may be, it is less so than true friendship. I live in that solitude which is painful in youth, but delicious in the years of maturity. God does not play dice with the universe. Imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited to all we now know and understand, while imagination embraces the entire world, and all there ever will be to know and understand. The most incomprehensible thing about the world is that it is at all comprehensible. Only those who attempt the absurd can achieve the impossible. You can never solve a problem on the level on which it was created. I never think of the future, it comes soon enough. You can never solve a problem on the level on which it was created. I never think of the future, it comes soon enough. You can never solve a problem on the level on which it was created. I never think of the future, it comes soon enough. You can never solve a problem on the level on which it was created. I never think of the future, it comes soon enough. Which quotation do you like the most? Don't forget to subscribe. Which quotation do you like the most? Don't forget to subscribe. Which quotation do you like the most? Concentrate all your thoughts upon the work at hand. The sun's rays do not burn until brought to a focus. Concentrate all your thoughts
Before anything
upon the work
else,
at hand.
preparation is the key to success.
Rays do not burn until brought
Sometimes
to a
we
focus.
stare so long at a door that is closing that we see too late the one that is open. When one door closes, another door opens, but we so often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the ones which open for us. Concentrate all your thoughts upon the work in hand. The sun's rays do not burn until brought to a focus. Man is the result of slow growth. That is why he occupies the position he does in animal life. What does a pup amount to that has gained its growth in a few days or weeks, beside a man who only attains it in as many years? A man, as a general rule, owes very little to what he is born with. A man is what he makes of himself. I have always considered myself as an agnostic. Don't keep forever on the public road, going only where others have gone. Don't keep forever on the public road, going only where others have gone. Leave the beaten track occasionally and dive into the woods. You'll be certain to find something you have never seen before. Leave the beaten track behind occasionally and dive into the woods. Every time you do, you will be certain to find something you have never seen before. What this power is I cannot say. All I know is that it exists and it becomes available only when a man is in that state of mind in which he knows exactly what he wants and is fully determined not to quit until he finds it. Wherever you may find the inventor, you may give him wealth or you may take from him all that he has, and he will go on inventing. He can no more help inventing than he can help thinking or breathing. The nation that secures control of the air will ultimately control the world. Great discoveries and improvements invariably involve the cooperation of many minds. I may be given credit for having blazed the trail, but when I look at the subsequent developments I feel the credit is due to others rather than to myself. It is a neck-and-neck race between Mr. Gray and myself who shall complete our apparatus first. He has the advantage over me in being a practical electrician, but I have reason to believe that I am better acquainted with the phenomena of sound than he is, so that I have an advantage there. It is not, of course, complete yet, but some sentences were understood this afternoon. I feel that I have at last struck the solution of a great problem, and the day is coming when telegraph wires will be laid onto houses just like water or gas, and friends converse with each other without leaving home. I have discovered that my interest in my dear pupil, Maven, has ripened into a far deeper feeling than that of mere friendship. In fact, I know that I have learned to love her very sincerely. Such a chimerical idea as telegraphing vocal sounds would indeed, to most minds, seem scarcely feasible enough to spend time in working over. I believe, however, that it is feasible and that I have got the cue to the solution of the problem. From my earliest childhood, my attention was specially directed to the subject of acoustics, and specially to the subject of speech, and I was urged by my father to study everything relating to these subjects, as they would have an important bearing upon what was to be my professional work. Morse conquered his electrical difficulties, although he was only a painter, and I don't intend to give in either till all is completed. The day will come when the man at the telephone will be able to see the distant person to whom he is speaking. It is hardly an exaggeration to say that oral teachers and sign teachers found it difficult to sit down in the same room without quarreling, and there was intolerance upon both sides. To say oral method to a sign teacher was like waving a red flag in the face of a bull, and to say sign language to an oralist aroused the deepest resentment. Dumbness comes from the fact that a child is born deaf and that it consequently never learns how to articulate, for it is by the medium of hearing that such instruction is acquired. When one door closes, another opens, but we often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the one which has opened for us. The only difference between success and failure is the ability to take action. The achievement of one goal should be the starting point of another. The inventor is a man who looks around upon the world and is not contented with things as they are. He wants to improve whatever he sees, he wants to benefit the world, he is haunted by an idea. The spirit of invention possesses him, seeking materialization. We are all too much inclined, I think, to walk through life with our eyes shut. There are things all round us and right at our very feet that we have never seen, because we have never really looked. God has strewn our paths with wonders, and we certainly should not go through life with our eyes shut. I have traveled around the globe. I have seen the Canadian and American Rockies, the Andes, the Alps and the Highlands of Scotland. Change will not come. Canadian and American Rockies, the Andes, the Alps and the Highlands of Scotland. Change will not come. Canadian and American Rockies, the Andes, the Alps and the Highlands of Scotland. Change will not come. Canadian and American Rockies, the Andes. If we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. Understand, our police officers put their lives on the line for us every single day. They've got a tough job to do to maintain public safety and hold accountable those who break the law. If the people cannot trust their government to do the job for which it exists, to protect them and to promote their common welfare, all else is lost. Now, as a nation, we don't promise equal outcomes, but we were founded on the idea everybody should have an equal opportunity to succeed. No matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, you can make it. That's an essential promise of America. Where you start should not determine where you end up. I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. I am not in favor of gay marriage. But when you start playing around with constitutions, just to prohibit somebody who cares about another person, it just seems to me that's not what America's about. Usually, our constitutions expand liberties, they don't contract them. We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded. I mean, I do think at a certain point you've made enough money. We need to reject any politics that targets people because of race or religion. This isn't a matter of political correctness. It's a matter of understanding what makes us strong. The world respects us not just for our arsenal, it respects us for our diversity and our openness and the way we respect every faith. I've got a pen and I've got a phone, and I can use that pen to sign executive orders and take executive actions and administrative actions that move the ball forward. We, the people, recognize that we have responsibilities as well as rights, that our destinies are bound together, that a freedom which only asks what's in it for me, a freedom without a commitment to others, a freedom without love or charity or duty or patriotism, is unworthy of our founding ideals, and those who died in their defense. There is not a liberal America and a conservative America, there is the United States of America. There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America, there's the United States of America. Focusing your life solely on making a buck shows a certain poverty of ambition. It asks too little of yourself. Because it's only when you hitch your wagon to something larger than yourself that you realize your true potential. I've got 2 daughters. 9 years old and 6 years old.
I am going to teach them first of all about values and morals. But if they make a mistake, I don't want them punished with a baby. In the end, that's what this election is about. Do we participate in a politics of cynicism or a politics of hope? Focusing your life solely on making a buck shows a certain poverty of ambition. It asks too little of yourself. Because it's only when you hitch your wagon to something larger than yourself that you realize your true potential. I've got 2 daughters. 9 years old and 6 years old. I am going to teach them first of all about values and morals. But if they make a mistake, I don't want them punished with a baby. It's not surprising, then, they get bitter, they cling to guns or religion or antipathy to people who aren't like them or anti-immigrant sentiment or anti-trade sentiment as a way to explain their frustrations. We prove that we are still a people capable of doing big things and tackling our biggest challenges. In a world of complex threats, our security and leadership depends on all elements of our power, including strong and principled diplomacy. The last thing you want to do is raise taxes in the middle of the recession because that would just suck up and take more demand out of the economy and put businesses in a further hole. I'm a warrior for the middle class. It took a lot of blood, sweat and tears to get to where we are today, but we have just begun. Today we begin in earnest the work of making sure that the world we leave our children is just a little bit better than the one we inhabit today. Barack Obama. We want everybody to act like adults, quit playing games, realize that it's not just my way or the highway. We need to internalize this idea of excellence. Not many folks spend a lot of time trying to be excellent. I think when you spread the wealth around it's good for everybody. We can't drive our SUVs and eat as much as we want and keep our homes on 72 degrees at all times, and then just expect that other countries are going to say okay. That's not leadership. That's not going to happen. I miss Saturday morning, rolling out of bed, not shaving, getting into my car with my girls, driving to the supermarket, squeezing the fruit, getting my car washed, taking walks. It was the labor movement that helped secure so much of what we take for granted today. The 40-hour work week, the minimum wage, family leave, health insurance, Social Security, Medicare, retirement plans. The cornerstones of the middle-class security all bear the union label. A good compromise, a good piece of legislation, is like a good sentence, or a good piece of music. Everybody can recognize it. They say, "Ha. It works. It makes sense." It's time to fundamentally change the way that we do business in Washington. To help build a new foundation for the 21st century, we need to reform our government so that it is more efficient, more transparent, and more creative. That will demand new thinking and a new sense of responsibility for every dollar that is spent. I'm the President of the United States. I'm not the Emperor of the United States. The United States is not, and never will be, at war with Islam. If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you've got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. We worship an awesome God in the blue states, and we don't like federal agents poking around our libraries in the red states. We coach Little League in the blue states and have gay friends in the red states. We have real enemies in the world. These enemies must be found. They must be pursued and they must be defeated. Let us remember we are all part of one American family. We are united in common values, and that includes belief in equality under the law, basic respect for public order, and the right of peaceful protest. Which quotation do you like the most? Don't forget to subscribe. Either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. 3 may keep a secret, if 2 of them are dead. They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. He that can have patience can have what he will. You may delay, but time will not. A penny saved is a penny earned. Many people die at 25 and aren't buried until they are 75. In wine there is wisdom, in beer there is freedom, in water there is bacteria. Never ruin an apology with an excuse. We are all born ignorant, but one must work hard to remain stupid. Justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are. Fear not death, for the sooner we die, the longer we shall be immortal. I didn't fail the test, I just found 100 ways to do it wrong. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety, deserve neither liberty nor safety. Beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. How many observe Christ's birthday? How few, his precepts. Being ignorant is not so much a shame, as being unwilling to learn. Well done is better than well said. An investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. Hide not your talents, they for use were made, what's a sundial in the shade? It is the first responsibility of every citizen to question authority. Lost time is never found again. 3 may keep a secret, if 2 of them are dead. Instead of cursing the darkness, light a candle. If all printers were determined not to print anything till they were sure it would offend nobody, there would be very little printed. The Constitution only guarantees the American people the right to pursue happiness. You have to catch it yourself. Be at war with your vices, at peace with your neighbors, and let every new year find you a better man. Remember not only to say the right thing in the right place, but far more difficult still, to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment. 'Tis a great confidence in a friend to tell him your faults, greater to tell him his. The person who deserves most pity is a lonesome one on a rainy day who doesn't know how to read. Dost thou love life? Then do not squander time, for that's the stuff life is made of. Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Never confuse motion with action. Educate your children to self-control, to the habit of holding passion and prejudice and evil tendencies subject to an upright and reasoning will, and you have done much to abolish misery from their future and crimes from society. He that is good for making excuses is seldom good for anything else. Whatever is begun in anger, ends in shame. Do not anticipate trouble, or worry about what may never happen. Keep in the sunlight. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech. The heart of a fool is in his mouth, but the mouth of a wise man is in his heart. There was never a bad peace or a good war. Be slow in choosing a friend, slower in changing. Love your enemies, for they tell you your faults. We must all hang together, or assuredly we shall all hang separately. When you are finished changing, you're finished. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. To find out a girl's faults, praise her to her girlfriends. For the want of a nail the shoe was lost, for the want of a shoe the horse was lost, for the want of a horse the rider was lost, for the want of a rider the battle was lost, for the want of a battle the kingdom was lost, and all for the want of a horseshoe nail. When you're testing to see how deep water is, never use 2 feet. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. A slip of the foot you may soon recover, but a slip of the tongue you may never get over. Trouble knocked at the door, but, hearing laughter, hurried away. Life's biggest tragedy is that we get old too soon and wise too late. Happiness depends more on the inward disposition of mind than on outward circumstances. If Jack's in love, he's no judge of Jill's beauty. If you would not be forgotten, as soon as you are dead and rotten, either write things worth reading, or do things worth writing. Keep your eyes wide open before marriage, half shut afterwards. In the affairs of this world men are saved, not by faith, but by the lack of it. Who is wise? He that learns from everyone. Who is powerful? He that governs his passions. Who is rich? He that is content. Who is that nobody? Be civil to all, sociable to many, familiar with few, friend to one, enemy to none. My refusing to eat flesh occasioned an inconveniency, and I was frequently chided for my singularity, but, with this lighter repast, I made the greater progress, for greater clearness of head and quicker comprehension. Flesh-eating is unprovoked murder. We do not stop playing because we grow old because we stop playing. If a man could have half of his wishes, he would double his troubles. Speak ill of no man, but speak all the good you know of everybody. While we may not be able to control all that happens to us, we can control what happens inside us. Were I a Roman Catholic, perhaps I should on this occasion vow to build a chapel to some saint, but as I am not, if I were to vow at all, it should be to build a lighthouse. Never leave till tomorrow that which you can do today. The best thing to give to your enemy is forgiveness, to an opponent, tolerance, to a friend, your heart, to your child, a good example, to a father, deference, to your mother, conduct that will make her proud of you, to yourself, respect, to all others, charity. The way to see by faith is to shut the eye of reason. Most people die at 25 and aren't buried until they're 75. Work as if you were to live 1,000 years, play as if you were to die tomorrow. A house is not a home unless it contains food and fire for the mind as well as the body. Security without liberty is called prison. Contentment makes poor men rich, discontent makes rich men poor. All mankind is divided into three classes, those that are immovable, those that are movable, and those that move. When the well is dry, we know the worth of water. Those things that hurt, instruct. The only thing that is more expensive than education is ignorance. Which quotation do you like the most? Don't forget to subscribe. I'm telling you that India is that way, now set my course. Your Highnesses have an other world here, by which our holy faith can be so greatly advanced and from which such great wealth can be drawn. I am a most noteworthy sinner, but I have cried out to the Lord for grace and mercy, and they have covered me completely. I have found the sweetest consolation since I made it my whole purpose to enjoy His marvelous presence. Oh, what a gracious Lord, who desires that people should perform for Him those things for which He holds Himself responsible. Day and night, moment by moment, everyone should express their most devoted gratitude to Him. The working out of all things has been assigned to each person by our Lord, but it all happens according to His sovereign will, even though He gives advice. But in truth, should I meet with gold or spices in great quantity, I shall remain till I collect as much as possible, and for this purpose, I am proceeding solely in quest of them. No one should fear to undertake any task in the name of our Savior, if it is just and if the intention is purely for His holy service. All who heard of my project rejected it with laughter, ridiculing me. There is no question that the inspiration was from the Holy Spirit, because He comforted me with rays of marvelous inspiration from the Holy Scriptures. My desire was not to pass any island without taking possession, so that, one having been taken, the same may be said of all. He added that it was useless to complain, he had come to go to the Indies, and so had to continue it until he found them, with the help of our Lord. They believe very firmly that I, with these ships and people, came from the sky, and in this belief they everywhere. And they know neither sect nor idolatry, with the exception that all believe that the source of all power and goodness is in the sky. I am not solicitous to examine particularly everything here, which indeed could not be done in 50 years, because my desire is to make all possible discoveries, and return to your highnesses, if it please our Lord, in April. Gold is a treasure, and he who possesses it does all he wishes to in this world, and succeeds in helping souls into paradise. Nothing that results in human progress is achieved with unanimous consent. Those that are enlightened before the others are condemned to pursue that light in spite of the others. Thus God gives victory to those who follow His way over apparent impossibilities. Life has more imagination than we carry in our dreams. It is easy to discover what another has discovered before. The sea will grant each man new hope, and sleep will bring dreams of home. Sailed this day 19 leagues, and determined to count less than the true number, that the crew might not be dismayed if the voyage should prove long. I went to sea from the most tender age and have continued in sea life to this day. Wherever anyone has sailed, there I have sailed. One does not discover new lands without consenting to lose sight of the shore for a very long time. Goals are simply tools to focus your energy in positive directions. These can be changed as your priorities change, new one added, and others dropped. By prevailing over all obstacles and distractions, one may unfailingly arrive at his chosen goal or destination. Riches don't make a man rich, they only make him busier. You can never cross the ocean unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. I should not proceed by land to the east, as is customary, but by a westerly route, in which direction we have hitherto no certain evidence that anyone has gone. There are trees of 1,000 sorts, and all have their several fruits, and I feel the most unhappy man in the world not to know them, for I am well assured that they are all valuable. Here the people could stand it no longer and complain of the long voyage, but the admiral cheered them as best he could, holding out good hope of the advantages they would have. After having dispatched a meal, I went ashore, and found no habitation save a single house, and that without an occupant. We had no doubt that the people had fled in terror at our approach, as the house was completely furnished. I believe that this land which your highnesses have commanded me to discover is very great, and that there are many other lands in the south of which there have never been reports. For the execution of the voyage to the Indies, I did not make use of intelligence, mathematics, or maps. Following the light of the sun, we left the old world. I have come to believe that this is a mighty continent which was hitherto unknown. I am greatly supported in this view by reason of this great river Ozama, and by this sea which is fresh. The air soft as that of Seville in April, and so fragrant that it was delicious to breathe it. It was the Lord who put into my mind that fact that it would be possible to sail from here to the Indies. All who heard of my project rejected it with laughter, ridiculing me. There is no question that the inspiration was from the Holy Spirit, because he comforted me with rays of marvelous inspiration from the Holy Scriptures. These people are very unskilled in arms, with 50 men they could all be subjected and made to do all that one wished. I saw a boy of the crew purchasing javelins of them with bits of platters and broken glass. Gold is the most precious of all commodities, gold constitutes treasure, and he who possesses it has all he needs in the world, as also the means of rescuing souls from purgatory, and restoring them to the enjoyment of paradise. I should be judged as a captain who went from Spain to the Indies to conquer a people numerous and warlike, whose manners and religion are very different from ours, who live in sierras and mountains, without fixed settlements, and whereby divine will I have placed under the sovereignty of the King and Queen our lords, an other world, whereby Spain, which was reckoned poor, is become the richest of countries. Columbus is coming from the Indies as a prisoner to Cadiz. For the execution of the voyage to the Indies, I did not make use of intelligence, mathematics, or maps. It is hoped that by God's assistance, some of the continents in the ocean will be discovered, for the glory of God. With gold a man can do anything. It even sends souls to paradise. And I say that your highnesses ought not to consent that any foreigner does business or sets foot here, except Christian Catholics, since this was the end and the beginning of the enterprise, that it should be for the enhancement and glory of the Christian religion, nor should anyone who is not a good Christian come to these parts. Tomorrow morning before we depart, I intend to land and see what can be found in the neighborhood. I have always read that the world, both land and water, was spherical, as the authority and researches of Ptolemy and all the others who have written on this subject demonstrate and prove, as do the eclipses of the moon and other experiments that are made from east to west, and the elevation of the North Star from north to south. Which quotation do you like the most? Don't forget to subscribe. I'm living a dream I never want to wake up from. When you lose a person you love so much, surviving the loss is difficult. I still learn, but I think it's the best thing in life to have a kid. I think sometimes the best training is to rest. I don't have to show anything to anyone, there is nothing to prove. We cannot live being obsessed with what other people think about us. It's impossible to live like that. Not even God managed to please the entire world. Why lie? I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say the opposite of what I think, like some others do. I'm not going to change the world. You're not going to change the world. But we can help, we can all help. I don't like being alone. We should make the most of life, enjoy it because that's the way it is. I never promise anything. I don't promise anything to my mom. I don't promise anything to the supporters. If we can't help our family, who are going to help? We don't want to tell our dreams. We want to show them. It is my conviction that here are no limits to learning, and that it can never stop, no matter what our age. Scoring goals is a great feeling, but the most important thing to me is that the team is successful. I see football as an art and all players are artists. If you are a top artist, the last thing you would do is paint a picture somebody else has already painted. I don't want to be compared to anyone, I'd like to impose my own style of play and do the best for myself and for the club here. It doesn't matter if it's a simple goal from close range, a long shot, or a dribble around several players, I just love to score all goals. I want to consistently play well and win titles. I'm only at the beginning. In football, I don't have a lot of friends. The people who I really trust, there are not many. Most of the time, I'm alone. I love Manchester. Everyone knows that, I have said it many times. Manchester is in my heart. I have my flaws too, but I am a professional who doesn't like to miss or lose. I'm proud to play for Real Madrid because I have fun. When you no longer have fun, it's a sign that it's time to leave. For now though, I'm happy here at the greatest club in the world. Without football, my life is worth nothing. I prefer other people to make judgments about the way I play and to characterize me, rather me describe myself. There is no harm in dreaming of becoming the world's best player. It is all about trying to be the best. I will keep working hard to achieve it, but it is within my capabilities. I see myself as the best footballer in the world. If you don't believe you are the best, then you will never achieve all that you are capable of. Your love makes me strong, your hate makes me unstoppable. I don't mind people hating me, because it pushes me. Talent without working hard is nothing. If you think you're perfect already, then you never will be. I know I'm a good professional, I know that no one's harder on me than myself, and that's never going to change, under any circumstances. I never tried to hide the fact that my only goal is to be the best. Dreams are not what you see in your sleep, dreams are things which do not let you sleep. Dedication, hard work all the time, and belief. To be the best you need the best. Winning, that's the most important to me. It's as simple as that. I am not a perfectionist, but I like to feel that things are done well. More important than that, I feel an endless need to learn, to improve, to evolve, not only to please the coach and the fans, but also to feel satisfied with myself. Maybe they hate me because I'm too good. I am not the humblest person in the world. I admit that. I want to be remembered as part of the group of the greatest players ever. Today there are opportunities that no one knows if they will come round again in the future. For me, Sir Alex was my father in football. He was crucial in my career and, outside football, was a great human being with me. Talent isn't everything. You can have it from the cradle, but it is necessary to learn the trade to be the best. It gives me the happiest feeling in the world. I just love scoring.